Well, thank you for joining me. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to meet you as well.
So I'm doing these recordings, these interviews, because we keep reading about how awful the job market is and what a challenge it is.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what was going on in my area. And
good idea.
Are we following the national trends, or what are we doing differently? So I really appreciate you taking the time to share a little bit about what's going on in your organization.
Yeah, happy to.
So to kick things off, tell us about what your business does and what you do there and how long you've been doing it.
Sure. I am the Human Resource Director at Bachman Auto Group. We are a large car dealership on the east end of Louisville. And I have had this position for about since 2017. And before that, I was the Human Resource Manager for our Louisville location. We purchased an Indiana store. I became the director. So.
Okay. So how many employees do you currently have?
It varies, of course, with the market, but we are right about 420, 430 employees.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty good size.
Yes. So what are some of the key issues you're seeing for employment in your sector, in your industry?
Well, I think I would say, like everyone in the country, we're having trouble finding people. It's just really difficult to find people. People like technicians and painters in our industry have to have specialized skills, and it's just becoming very difficult to source those. And we have very few newcomers coming into the industry just because of the reputation it has, or maybe there's no interest level. It's getting more technological, which is great because that attracts a completely different type of person. So that's good. But I feel like that's probably one of the bigger issues that we face. Also, benefits is a big issue for us. We're not what you would consider a really large company. We're not an Amazon or a UPS, but we're in the same town, so we have to compete for some of the same talent. So without their, of course, huge employee base to negotiate benefits. So we try to get a little creative with the benefits we offer. Things like ancillary benefits like cancer and identity theft insurance. We offer discounts on sales and service products, and we offer to help our people pay for their certifications too. So we try to get just a little creative with how we do it.
Okay. And yeah, you do have real stiff competition for the kind of work you're looking for. So Absolutely. What is it that makes your culture stand out, even among other car dealerships? What's different?
That's an easy one for me. We're a family-based, Christian-based organization, and the family's very involved in the organization. Still corporate, but more like fam corporate. if that's a new buzzword now. So I think with that in mind, that makes us a little bit more nimble in responding to our employees' needs, both their career path and their individual family needs. I think that would really make us a standout for our culture.
I can see where that would be unique in the industry,
especially up against a UPS or a Amazon who can't do that. So
right, very much so. So as you've grown, what are some of the challenges that you faced, and what have you learned from it?
I would say overall the concept of human resources is sort of a reactive thing for a lot of people. Management doesn't really consider the human resource department to be an ally for them. Instead, they're those process people, or they're there to help you, maybe help with a problem employee, things like that. So I would say the opportunity for me is to create that environment that allows the managers to consider us a tool for them to be able to better manage themselves and help their employees grow and make their departments easier to operate. So when I'm looking for somebody for my team, I'm always looking for somebody that has a can-do, think outside the box, do what it takes kind of an attitude. Because whether it's cleaning the bathrooms or getting the technicians lunch to make things operate more smoothly, that's what you'll see me doing to make sure that everybody is on the same path, and we're all helping to move forward.
As a former HR director, I applaud you and I encourage you.
Yes, it's very hard sometimes when the managers are like, "Oh, we don't need that HR. They just tell us what to do, and eventually they need you." And so making yourself as indispensable as possible, leading up to that need, really helps them value it when it does happen.
So as you're growing your team, and I assume you always haven't been at over 400 and you added a facility.
We've added several, yes.
What advice would you give to somebody else who's trying to grow their team?
I guess the most important advice I would give is don't be afraid to pick the wrong person. So many times we're like, "Ooh, the perfect candidate, the perfect candidate." I mean, they might not necessarily be like that person that you think, but once you get them lined up, they tend to surprise you. We had a young lady we hired for our controller as her assistant, and she was just not the person to sit in front of a computer and crunch numbers all day long, but she was great with people. And so we gave her an opportunity inside the HR department, and she was a phenomenal interviewer. So we actually grew her into our hiring manager. So it's not always about what you see that they do right away. Sometimes it's about what you can grow them into. Now, on the flip side of that, I would say if you have somebody who's not meeting expectations, you need to tell them that nicely and respectfully, because I don't think anybody generally tries to be a failure, but they need to know that they have improvement to do. So I would say those are the advice that I would give to somebody.
That is so important, because if you wait for that annual review and then slam somebody, they're like, "Why didn't you tell me this?"
Exactly. And it's easier not only for as a manager to remember what's going on with an employee as it's going along, but also it's easier for the employee to say, "Oh, I need to improve on that, and I can do that in these ways," as opposed to looking back and going, "If you told me that, I could have done this and this differently." So yes,
Right.
communication is very important.
So if you could begin your journey again, is there anything you would do differently?
Oh, wow. Yes, I would ask questions and not be afraid to ask for help. I'm a real do-it-yourself kind of a person, which is, I think, maybe made things a little harder on me in the end. But knowing that there's resources out there and ideas already in existence, it would have been a lot easier if I had just taken those and adapted them instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. So I would say, yes, ask questions and don't be afraid to ask for help if you're starting your journey out and don't know what you're doing. That would be advice I would give.
You've got multiple facilities and multiple departments within those facilities. How do you keep everybody connected?
We have a wonderful, amazing, I can't say enough about the IT department. And so we have electronic communications, we have team meetings, we have just all kinds of great things as far as the technology goes. I happen to be a person who prefers like walking out and giving the individual personal kind of hello. So I try to do pick a department a week and do just a little quick walk around, make myself seen, see if anybody has any questions, kind of just talk to the people and let them know, hey, we may be in another building, but here's how you can reach me if you can't walk all the way over, use our technology. So it's difficult to keep, especially with our Indiana campus now, to keep everybody connected, but I think we do a pretty good job of making sure everybody is in the know.
Okay. Yeah, because that's 400 people. That's a lot to
It's a lot.
be communicating with.
And consistent.
Well, and then, crossing state lines, different
Yes, always fun.
laws, different requirements.
Yes.
So, and by the way, I'm a Bachman customer, so I'm familiar with the organization.
Thank you. I hope you've had a good experience here.
Very much so.
Good.
So where's Bachman going in the future? What do you see happening?
Ooh, well, we have a lot of course, everybody's been up on the technology, and I see the technology and the economy and the ecology changing us. Electric vehicles are coming. And frankly, hydro vehicles are probably not far behind that. So I really see that technology taking us further on both the sales side, giving our customers options, and on our service side as well, because that's all new technology that our technicians will benefit from learning and being able to move them into the future on their career path too. So I think that's going to be important for them. I also think that in our industry in particular, we've come to the realization that we're just going to have to grow our own. It's not going to happen by us going out and just searching a community. We're going to have to create that interest. And so we are working with several community organizations, including some of the high schools and the community colleges, to work on programs that bring the students in and interest them, and provide the training that they need without them having to go through a secondary education. Some people aren't cut out for that. And so we're hoping that will benefit us in the end, and other dealerships as well, as far as making sure there's trades still available in the community. It's really important people to realize how they're phasing out. So I would say we're very excited to see the future coming with the technology.
I'm so happy to hear that you've chosen to build people and to provide that level of training, because you're right, nobody's going into those trades, and not everybody should go for a 4-year degree. But there's certainly a lot of opportunities, and
yeah,
it
some
sounds
people
like
don't want the debt, so it's a good opportunity for them to make good money without having to go through that 4-year degree.
And it sounds like you're really interested in somebody who is looking for a career and not just a job for a year or two.
Absolutely. People tend to think of car dealerships as being a place that they could just get a job or do a transition, but they really don't realize how much with 7 different buildings and each department is kind of like a business in and of itself. There are a lot of business opportunities in the car dealership. And if you don't like what you're doing, you can always look at another department and transfer there. We transfer people all the time. I actually started out as the receptionist here many years ago, and I've worked in service, I've worked in parts, I did customer service, I ran the BDC. So I've done a little bit of everything here. And I think that gives a broad spectrum of what people can do in this business, what they're offered.
Is there one area more than another that you're particularly challenged with finding team members right now?
I would say technicians. It's really hard to find technicians, body technicians, painters. There just aren't a lot of people going into the trades. Those are considered trades, and it's very difficult for us to find those sorts of people. That's where we're really starting our grow your own.
Okay. But things like sales and service and all that, is that a little easier to find people, or is that its own challenges?
A little. We have had a sales training program for many years, and so it's not as difficult to take an individual from another line or another industry and train them to be a salesperson or even a service advisor. That's not quite as difficult as finding someone who wants to get dirty every day working on a car and is willing to keep up with the technology that it takes to work on the newer vehicles.
And I'm sure a lot of people aren't making that connection with the technology. So that's got to be exciting to a generation raised on video games.
Absolutely. And that is really, and like I said, when we compete with the Amazons and the UBSs, that is really one of the things that we emphasize, is that there is a lot of technology here, and you can make a career out of having that technology available to you.
Well, it all sounds very, very exciting. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience about the great things happening and how you're getting your team to be moving forward all the time?
I would say our ownership is key in that. They're very involved in the dealership day to day, as well as the overarching strategy that we have. And they're just really amazing people to work for. I actually, when I worked here as a receptionist, I was in college. And so when I graduated, I left to take a social service position. But it just didn't fit me as well. And so I actually came back to the dealership. I'm what we call a rerun. So I came back and the energy and the commitment that this dealership has to its people is just really inspiring.
That is so refreshing to hear. And that's really the reason I'm doing these interviews, to let people know that there are so many good things happening, good organizations, and good people to work for.
Right here in this city. And it's not,
Yeah.
they're not hard to find. There's a lot of them.
Well, thank you so very much for taking the time to share all of this with me. I'm excited for you and excited for the growth that's happening at Bachman. That's
I am
wonderful.
too. 2023 is going to be a great year.
So as a thank you gift, what I would like to offer you is an employee engagement survey.
Oh,
And
awesome.
this is something that I do for organizations, for teams, for departments. It can be structured at any level. It takes each person 3 to 5 minutes to do it. They can do it on their phones, and it is 100% completely anonymous.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So
That's the best way to do those.
the last one that I did for a local company, the response I got back from the management was, this feedback is such a gift because now we know what to do next.
Yeah, you know where to start if you've got the information. Absolutely.
Right. Because, we sit in our office and we think, oh, we'll do this, that they'll love it. But the employees may be somewhere entirely different.
That's right. You are right on that.
Yeah. And, the fact that you're out walking the floor, what a difference that makes.
Yeah.
And
we encourage all of our managers to do that. Some do it more than others, but we encourage them all to.
Good for you. Well, I'm going to send you some more information about the employee
please.
engagement survey. Engage and Grow is an international organization. It is now owned by Action Coach. I work for Action Coach Bluegrass.
Okay.
And the whole idea behind Engage and Grow is you can take an employee, you can teach them skills, but you can't teach them to have that heart, to be part of the mission. That's got to come from within. And that's what the Engage and Grow program does, is connect people within the organization to each other and to the mission of the organization. So
awesome.
So I'll send you some information about that as well. And I'm happy to set up the surveys. As I said, we can do it by department, by team, by facility, whatever works for you. Because I want you to have the valuable data. If you do it for all 425 people, as you know, you're going to get quite the range of responses.
Right.
Probably nothing that you can do with that. But, you just tell me how many people.
Sure.
And what team, give me a name of the teams, and then I send you the link. And
we can send it out.
You can send it out. And then once the results come back in and I have the report, I do a debrief on what people said and some thoughts on areas that maybe you want to think about addressing and areas to celebrate.
Sure. And with as many companies as you talk to, I'm sure you have a lot of insight on some of those suggestions might be something we hadn't thought of.
Yeah. And a lot of it is, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So that's what makes my job fun.
Yeah, we like those aha moments.
Yes. Hope it's been a pleasure to meet you.
You too, and thank you so much.
This video will be edited, and then we will send it out to our database and post it on our social media, and I will send you the link so you can post it on your social media as well. And share it with your employees and share it with potential employees.
Great. Sounds like a great idea.
All right. I'll be in touch, and you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, Sandy. Appreciate it. You too.